Towns and villages are some of my favorite places in video games. In many games, they represent safety in a dangerous world, offering the player a brief pause from the fights and enemies they face outside of its borders. A good video game town offers the player a chance to stop and reflect on their journey so far and prepare for the trials ahead, while also adding to the world building and immersion of the game as a whole. One town that I think exemplifies this the best is Hateno Village in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Nestled in the foothills of Mount Lanayru, Hateno Village is an idyllic sanctuary that feels a world away from the post-apocalyptic ruins that cover the majority of Hyrule. As one of the few towns left in the Fallen Kingdom, it serves as a home for the descendants of the Hylians that survived the Great Calamity, and it's even theorized that it was once the home of our very own hero. Beyond just serving as a beautiful respite away from moblins and Lynels, Hateno Village also reflects and contrasts many of the themes of both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, while also giving us a glimpse into how the events of both games have affected the people of Hyrule. Today, I want to explore what makes Hateno Village so memorable and why it's one of my favorite locations in any video game. If I had to describe the Hyrule of Breath of the Wild in one word, it would be lonely. Scattered across the broken kingdom are ruins of houses and settlements, reminding the player that this used to be a bustling kingdom, but is now just a memory to the people clinging to the last few remaining areas of safety left. The lands in between these sparse settlements are incredibly dangerous, making travel nearly impossible for most people. This emptiness is felt deeply throughout the entire game, and is highlighted further by the soft, ambient soundtrack that accompanies your journey. With the beautiful scenery and abundant nature of Hyrule, it's sometimes easy to forget that this world was not always so empty, but was once home to civilization. However, with the crumbling ruins of Castletown, the Temple of Time, Bonlon Ranch, and so many other locations once home to the people of Hyrule, always stand ready to remind you of what was lost. It's with the backdrop of decay and solitude that we find Hateno Village, a quiet town to the east of the ruins that dot the landscape of central Hyrule. I remember stumbling upon this village by chance during my first playthrough and being immediately hit with both comfort and nostalgia, despite it being the first time I had ever been there. After spending hours alone in the wilderness of Hyrule defending myself with whatever I could steal from bokoblins, with only a few apples to my name to heal myself, I finally felt some semblance of safety and respite. Despite the scattered remains of Hyrule's former glory, and the vast empty lands that now occupy much of the former kingdom's territory, it's clear that life has gone on in Hateno Village. Functioning windmills stand high above the town's many houses, shops, and farms, likely processing the wheat grown in the village's fields. There's an inn for the wary few travelers willing to brave the wilderness, and the town even hosts an ancient Sheikah tech lab, which claims to help protect the town from the many dangers it faces in this hostile world. At night, the warm glow of the street lamps illuminates the village, casting off the darkness of the surrounding wilds. Walking through the streets of Hateno Village gives me a sense of what life must have been like in Hyrule before the Calamity, a far cry from the state the kingdom is in now. It's not just the physical layout of the village that contrasts so deeply with much of the rest of Hyrule either. The spirit of Hateno Village and what it represents draws heavy distinctions between itself and the rest of the game. Here, children are seen running around and playing, farmers tend to their fields, and shopkeepers sell their goods. You see Manny trying to impress his crush, Ivy cleaning up in front of her shop, and Tamana looking after her cuckoos. Despite the looming danger outside, the people of the village continue on with their lives, and in a game where we are constantly reminded of the mistakes of the past, it's incredibly refreshing to see people living in the moment. Link even gets the opportunity to savor the present moment when we meet Bolson, Carson, and Hudson outside of a rundown cottage in the village. You're able to purchase the home from them, giving the player a literal home base to come back to whenever they need it, while inns and stables offer the same healing benefits of sleeping in a bed. They are transient by their very nature, as you are eventually expected to move on. While the home in Hateno Village offers the player gameplay mechanics such as healing and weapon storage, it also offers something less tangible but just as important: the ability to appreciate the present moment for as long as you need. In a game so heavily focused on the past and fixing the mistakes that occurred a century ago, Hateno Village provides comfort in the present and hope for the future. It provides community in a game where you are alone, fending for yourself and attempting to right the wrongs of the past. While Link's stay in the village could only ever be temporary given his duty to Zelda in Hyrule, it provides a much-needed break from the constant danger of the outside world and allows the player to reflect on the state of Hyrule and a vision for the future after Calamity Ganon is defeated. That vision for the future of Hyrule comes into focus in Tears of the Kingdom. While the land remains sparse of people, we see that the rebuilding effort was in full swing before the revival of Ganondorf. A new settlement has been built in central Hyrule and materials have been placed across the kingdom to foster new construction. It's clear that the people of Hyrule have begun literally building a future for themselves atop the ruins of the old world, and the atmosphere feels much more hopeful as a result. Excited by all these developments, one of the first things I did after leaving the Great Sky Island and exploring the area around Lookout Landing was head straight for Hateno Village. With all the changes that have happened around Hyrule in the years since the defeat of Calamity Ganon, I was desperate to see what my favorite town had been up to. With only my tunic and the finest rusty weapons I could find equipped, I made the journey across central Hyrule, excited to see what had become of the little agrarian village I left behind in Breath of the Wild. It's clear before even entering the village that a lot has happened in the years since we last visited. Mushrooms adorn the town arch and the path leading to the main street. Many of the villagers are seen wearing mushroom outfits, and there are even mushroom-clad tourists roaming around in groups, gawking at shops and the statues around town. It turns out that a new fad has gripped Hateno, spurned on by the fashion icon Cece. We begin to learn that Cece has a very forward-looking vision for the sleepy village she was born and raised in. Not satisfied with the village remaining tied solely to the agricultural ways of the past, she wants to make Hateno Village into the fashion and cultural capital of Hyrule. Her goals seem to be working as we find fashionistas all across Hyrule looking for hidden outfit sets. However, her vision for Hateno Village is certainly not without its detractors, and this is where the main conflict of this little storyline comes into focus. Many in town are resentful about the changes that have been made and wish for a return to the simpler ways of the past, when the village was a quiet farming community. This tension takes shape not only in the minds and attitudes of the villagers, but in the physical space as well. While the main street and shops are filled with the iconic mushrooms, hoping to capitalize off tourist interest in Cece's designs, these mushrooms are a less common sight among the various farms in town. Of course, it's also easy to tell which camp a villager is in based solely on how they dress. Ultimately, this tension boils over into a political drama for the future of the village, leading to an election between Cece and the current mayor Reed. Throughout the course of several quests, we find out Cece does appreciate the agricultural roots of the village, and the current mayor has plans to use Cece's designs to make Hateno's crops more interesting to young people. After a rousing political debate where both of their secrets were exposed to the public, the town decided to move forward, embracing the future while respecting the roots of the village. Beyond fungi-related political drama, we also learn that Princess Zelda has set up a school in the village. We have the opportunity to help teach the class, and in one of these instances, we join in on a lesson about the Great Calamity. The children doubt that an event like that could have possibly happened, arguing that it sounds more like a fairy tale. After obtaining evidence, they were, of course, stunned to learn that it did in fact happen. While not as in-your-face as a political debate over mushroom hats, it's small moments like this that show that the world is moving on. The immediate dangers of the calamity no longer hang over the heads of the people of Hyrule. And it too will become just another legend one day. Hyrule is wrestling with how to move on from the past. After 100 years of fighting for survival, they now have the opportunity to choose the future they want for themselves. Hateno Village reflects this challenge, and we get to witness how the town comes together to overcome it. While living through the calamity brought its own terrors, it's the life many villagers were used to, and it will take time to fully embrace the future. Some of my best memories with video games happen in towns and villages. I have always been drawn to the quiet moments in otherwise action-filled games, getting a glimpse into how the people of the world I'm experiencing are coping and adapting to its challenges. I love having the opportunity to slow down and reflect on my journey and prepare for what's next. Now that the Switch's Zelda duology has come to an end, I wanted to reflect on one of my favorite locations from these games. For some, Hateno Village might just be a place to stock up on items before heading up Mount Lanayru or to Zora's Domain, but for me, it was hard to leave once I discovered it. I actually really enjoyed almost all the settlements in both games, especially Kakariko Village and Terrytown, but Hateno Village will always be special to me. It's a place that has stuck with me for years after playing Breath of the Wild, and I'm glad to finally get to talk about it. I would love to hear about your favorite video game towns and what makes them special to you, so tell me about it in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.